Trick or treat. The town of Greywood had always worn autumn like a badge of honor. The streets glistened with amber leaves, the shopfronts were painted in pumpkin hues, and every porch had its proud jack-o'-lantern grinning in defiance against the cold October wind. But this year, something felt different. The chill was sharper. The laughter of children thinner. Even the carved pumpkins seemed to flicker nervously, as though they knew something that the living did not. Our story begins with Elliot Marsh, a man whose name few remembered, and whose face many chose to forget. He lived alone on the far edge of the town, in a house that time itself seemed to have given up on. Peeling paint. Broken shutters. The kind of house that creaked when you tried not to listen. Elliot wasn't always the ghost of Greywood. Once, he had been the town's golden son, a teacher, a husband, a friend. Until one Halloween night, many years ago, when everything burned. They said it started with a prank gone wrong. Teenagers. Fireworks. A pumpkin full of lighter fluid. By sunrise, Elliot's wife, Mara, was dead. The fire had eaten half the house before help arrived. And the children responsible? They were never caught. The town whispered. The town pitted. Then the town forgot. But Elliot never did. Every Halloween since that night, he would place a single pumpkin on his porch, uncarved, untouched. And every year, someone would come along to vandalize it. Teenagers, again, testing courage, chasing fear. But this Halloween, Elliot was waiting. It was near midnight when the first knock came. Knock. 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 He didn't move at first. The sound carried through the old wood of his home, vibrating like the heartbeat of a corpse. Outside, he could hear giggles, the kind that didn't belong to children anymore, but to those on the edge of youth and recklessness. Trick or treat, a voice called out, mockingly. Elliot smiled faintly. His lips cracked. His eyes, hollow and tired, glinted with the reflection of a flickering candle. He picked up a small wooden mask from the table, hand-carved, shaped like a jack-o'-lantern, with hollow eyes and a cruel grin. The inside smelled faintly of burnt oak and something metallic. He whispered to it, softly, "Tonight, they come home." He opened the door. The night air slithered in. Standing before him were three figures, teens in dollar store costumes, laughter bubbling behind their plastic masks. One wore a vampire cape, another a skeleton hoodie, and the last one, a werewolf mask with glowing eyes. "Nice mask, old man," one sneered. "Got any candy?" Elliot tilted his head, silent. The boy in the skeleton hoodie stepped forward. "What's the matter? Cat got your tongue?" And then Elliot spoke, his voice slow and deliberate, the kind of voice that sounded like it had been buried under dirt for years. "Trick, or treat?" The vampire laughed. "Both, I guess." Elliot smiled, closing the door just a little. The laughter turned uneasy. Then they noticed, in the faint glow of his porch light, the streaks on his hands. Dark, wet, fresh. One of the boys whispered, "Dude, is that blood?" Elliot chuckled, low and rasping. "It's paint," he lied. He pushed the door open again. "Why don't you come in and see what I've been working on?" Teenagers, as they are, danced on the line between thrill and stupidity. The vampire pushed past him first, grinning. "Sure, let's check it out." The others followed. The house swallowed them whole. The door closed behind them with a sigh. Inside, it smelled of smoke and rot. The living room was dark, save for a few candles arranged in a perfect circle on the floor. In the middle sat an old pumpkin, uncarved, but covered in black etchings. Names. Written over and over again. The vampire laughed nervously. "Dude, this is weird." Elliot stood by the doorway, the mask now covering his face completely. His voice echoed from somewhere deeper in the house. "Do you know what today is?" he asked. Halloween?" "No," Elliot whispered. "It's the anniversary." One of the boys frowned. "Anniversary of what?" "The fire." The lights flickered. The air grew thick. The pumpkin in the circle began to hiss, smoke seeping from its top as if something inside it was alive. The teenagers backed up, tripping over each other. "What the hell is that?" Elliot stepped into the candlelight, his mask gleaming orange, the hollow eyes glowing from within. "It's time for the trick." Outside, Greywood slept beneath a blanket of quiet fog. And from the old house on the hill, the screams began, sharp, sudden, and swallowed by the night. By dawn, only one pumpkin sat on the porch again. This time, carved. Its grin was wider. And beneath it, in the damp morning dew, a trail of footprints led away, barefoot, and human. But whose footprints they were, no one could tell. Morning broke over Greywood like a bruise, dull, purple, and sore. The fog hung low, thick enough to smother sound. Nothing stirred, not even the crows that usually picked at the edges of the old road leading to Elliot Marsh's house. By noon, people began to notice. 3 teens, gone without a trace. Their bikes still leaned against the fence outside Elliot's home, coated in frost. No footprints leading away, no tire tracks on the dirt. Just silence. Sheriff Danvers, a man who had worn the same frown for 20 years, stood by the gate, staring at the lonely house. "It's happening again," he muttered under his breath. Behind him, Deputy Clara Hensley adjusted her scarf and tried to keep her voice steady. "You think Marsh has something to do with this?" Danvers didn't answer right away. He just rubbed the back of his neck, eyes fixed on the porch where the pumpkin Saturday. "He's been broken since the fire. But broken men don't just disappear, or make others disappear." "Still," Clara whispered, "nobody's seen him since last night." They pushed open the gate. It creaked like a dying thing. Inside, the air was cold. Unnaturally cold. Every step stirred the dust that clung to the floor like dead skin. The furniture was covered in sheets. Candles, melted down to stubs, littered the tables. And then they found the circle. Right there in the center of the living room floor, a blackened ring of ash, surrounding what looked like burnt wax and melted pumpkin flesh. The stench of something wrong filled the air. Clara covered her mouth. "What the hell?" Danvers crouched beside the circle. He touched the ash. It was warm. "Get the coroner," he said. "And the lab. We need to." He stopped. His hand trembled slightly. Hidden beneath the ash was something small and metallic. A charm bracelet. Melted in places, but still recognizable. Clara's voice cracked. That's Sophie's. One of the missing kids." Danvers closed his fist around it. "We're too late." That night, Greywood slept uneasy. Parents locked their doors. Children stayed inside. The wind howled through the town's narrow streets, carrying whispers that sounded almost like laughter. And somewhere, on the edge of town, something else awoke. A woman named Mara Greenfield, a local reporter for the Greywood Gazette, sat hunched over her typewriter. She wasn't related to Elliot's late wife, though the name had earned her more than a few curious stares. Her desk was littered with old news clippings: "House fire kills local woman, Halloween tragedy unsolved, Greywood mourns." She was chasing ghosts, and Elliot Marsh was her last living lead. She pushed her glasses up and whispered to herself, "If he's still out there, he'll come back. He always does." The clock struck midnight. Outside, the sound of a single knock echoed through her apartment. Knock. 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 Mara froze. The rhythm was deliberate. Too slow to be random. Too familiar to ignore. She hesitated before opening the door. No one stood there. Only a small brown box, tied with twine. Her breath hitched. There was no return address. No markings. Just a single phrase carved into the wood. Trick or treat. Inside the box, wrapped in black cloth, was a pumpkin seed. One single seed. And a note. Scrawled in shaky handwriting. He's not dead. He's waiting for them to come home. 2 days later, the town gathered for a candlelight vigil. The missing teens' families stood shoulder to shoulder near Greywood Lake, their faces hollowed by grief. Sheriff Danvers spoke softly, but his words felt empty. As the candles flickered, Mara watched from the back, clutching the box in her coat pocket. She noticed something. Across the lake, near the woods, a faint orange glow. It pulsed, rhythmically. She blinked, and for a moment, she could have sworn she saw a figure there. Tall. Still. Wearing a pumpkin mask that seemed to breathe with firelight. When she turned to get Danvers' attention, it was gone. Only the faint echo of a whisper drifted across the water. Trick or treat. Later that night, the sheriff's office received an anonymous call. A man's voice, distorted by static. They took everything from me, the voice said. Now, it's my turn. Who is this? Danvers demanded. Silence. Then, a faint chuckle. You already know. The line went dead. Danvers slammed the receiver down and grabbed his coat. Get the car, he barked at Clara. We're going back to that house. The road to the Marsh property was darker than usual, the moon swallowed by clouds. The trees leaned over the asphalt like eavesdroppers. When they arrived, the house looked different. The windows glowed faintly from within. Not with light, but with the soft, wavering pulse of something alive. Danvers stepped forward, flashlight trembling in his hand. Marsh, he shouted. Come out. No response. Only the wind. Clara pointed toward the porch. Sheriff, look. The pumpkin was gone. In its place lay something else. 3 masks: a vampire, a skeleton, and a werewolf arranged in a perfect circle. Each one had a name written on the inside. Sophie. Aaron. Tanner. Danvers' blood ran cold. And then the door opened by itself. From the darkness inside, a voice spoke. Calm. Measured. Terrifyingly patient. You shouldn't have come back. Elliot Marsh stepped into the doorway, or what was left of him. His skin was pale, almost waxy. His eyes hollowed and dark. The same carved mask hung from his neck, swinging slightly like a pendulum. Clara whispered, "Oh, my God." Danvers raised his gun. Elliot Marsh, you're under arrest. Elliot smiled. No. You don't understand, Sheriff. He reached into the dark, pulling something with him, a lantern made from a hollowed pumpkin, burning from the inside with black flame. They're already here. The ground trembled. From the shadows behind him, 3 shapes stepped forward, each wearing the masks of the missing teens. Their bodies twitching like marionettes. Danvers fired. Once. Twice. The bullets passed through them like mist. The lantern flared. The room screamed. And then, nothing. By sunrise, the house was gone. Burned again, down to its foundation. But on the hill, overlooking the ashes, Mara Greenfield stood quietly, holding her notebook. Something caught her eye. A new pumpkin sat where the door once was, carved, still smoking. She crouched, brushing the soot away to read the inscription carved beneath it. Happy anniversary, Mara. She froze. The handwriting was her own. Greywood was never the same after that night. The ashes of Elliot Marsh's house were still warm when the rain came, heavy, relentless, washing away what little evidence remained. Sheriff Danvers and Deputy Clara were listed as missing. No trace. No bodies. Just a scorched lantern found in the rubble, its flame still flickering though no oil fed it. The town buried its fear in silence. People spoke less of the missing and more of moving on. But every October, as the air grew colder, whispers rose again, stories told in dark bars and school hallways about the man in the pumpkin mask, about the man in the pumpkin mask, about the cursed house on the hill. And always, always, about the phrase carved into its final wall. Trick or treat. The return Mara Greenfield couldn't let it go. A week after the fire, she drove back to the site under the cover of dusk. The fog seemed to thicken as she approached, curling around the car like fingers. Her headlights caught the glint of something metallic buried in the dirt, Sheriff Danvers' badge. She swallowed hard. Danvers. No answer. Only the soft creak of wood nearby, the kind of sound that shouldn't exist when everything around you is ash. Then she saw it. A door. Not standing, not attached to anything, just there, half buried, upright in the earth like a tombstone. She crouched down and brushed the soot away. It was the front door of Elliot Marsh's house. Her trembling fingers reached for the handle. The moment she touched it, she felt heat pulse through the metal, like a heartbeat. The world shifted. When she opened her eyes, she was standing inside the house. Whole. Rebuilt. The wallpaper fresh. The candles lit. The smell of pumpkin and wood smoke thick in the air. "Hello, Mara," a voice whispered behind her. She turned. Elliot stood there, alive. Or something pretending to be. His face was pale, eyes black as coal. His hands, burned, charred in places, held a knife that glimmered like liquid moonlight. "I've been waiting," he said softly. "You came back. Just like she did." "Elliot," Mara managed, "you're dead." The house burned down, he tilted his head, smiling faintly. Did it? Or did the town just bury what it didn't want to see? He stepped closer. "I tried to warn them. They wouldn't listen. So now, Greywood pays every year." Mara backed away. "What are you talking about?" Elliot pointed to the pumpkin on the mantel, small, uncarved, just like the ones he used to leave on his porch. "Every Halloween, it grows," he said. "Every year, it remembers." The pumpkin began to crack down the middle. A faint red glow spilled from inside. The smell of iron and rot filled the air. Elliot's grin widened. "You see, Mara, the fire wasn't an accident. It was a sacrifice." Mara's heart pounded. "You killed her, your wife?" "No," his voice turned low, guttural. "They killed her. I just kept her here." The crack widened, and something moved inside the pumpkin. Hands, small and pale, pressing against the orange shell from within. Mara screamed. Elliot raised the knife. "Now, it's your turn." The lights went out. When they flickered back on, Elliot was gone. The house was empty again, except for the sound of breathing that wasn't hers. Mara stumbled backward, her flashlight beam trembling as it scanned the walls. The names were there again, dozens of them, carved deep into the plaster. Each one burned faintly red. Sophie. Aaron Tanner Danvers Clara Mara. Her name at the bottom. Still fresh. "No," she whispered. "No, no, no," she ran for the door, but it wasn't there. Just more walls. The layout had changed. The house was alive. The floorboards pulsed like veins. The whispering started, soft at first, then louder. "Trick or treat, trick or treat, trick or treat." She covered her ears, but the voices grew. Children's laughter twisted into screams. The candles flared, and shadows crawled along the ceiling, forming faces, the missing teens, the sheriff, the deputy, their mouths sewn shut, their eyes empty hollows. And then, from behind her, the whisper of footsteps. She turned. Elliot stood in the doorway, holding the lantern of black flame. "It's time," he said. "Every story needs an ending." He placed the lantern on the floor. The shadows rushed toward it, screaming, writhing, until the entire room ignited in a circle of fire. Mara screamed, stumbling back. "What do you want from me?" Elliot's face softened. "I want you to tell the truth." "The truth," he nodded. "You were there, Mara. You were one of them." Her breath caught. What are you saying?" "You and your friends. The prank. The lighter fluid. You lit the pumpkin." His voice broke, filled with fury and grief. "You killed her. You killed Mara Marsh." Tears welled in Mara's eyes. "No. I didn't mean to. It was an accident. Accidents have consequences." He raised the knife again. "But so do stories." The treat. Mara lunged for the lantern, grabbing it with both hands. It burned, searing her skin, but she didn't let go. The fire pulsed brighter, black smoke coiling around her arms. "Then end it," she screamed. "End this curse." Elliot hesitated. For the first time, his expression faltered, grief cutting through the madness. The fire roared. The walls screamed. The house began to crumble. Mara locked eyes with him. "I'm sorry." And then she threw the lantern to the floor. It shattered. A wave of darkness swept through the room, swallowing everything, the house, the ghosts, the man, the fire. Silence. The morning after, when Greywood awoke, the hill was empty again. No ashes. No remains. Just grass, wet with dew. The town moved on, again. But later that evening, a little girl named Emily Danvers found something strange while walking home from school. A single pumpkin. Small, round, perfectly carved with a smiling face. She giggled and picked it up. Inside, nestled in the pulp, was a folded note. It read, "Happy Halloween, Emily. M.G." And as she turned it over in her hands, the pumpkin's eyes flickered with a faint, familiar light.